Hello, I'm Dr. JP, and this is my chart on the phenomenology of psychological suffering and emancipation. You can download it below. There's a link. I'm going to explain a short concept on the based on the map. So the big picture of the map is to show how experienced suffering arises. So this is our experience right now, choiceless awareness. But right now, which is an experience without time, an experience without concepts, is really hard for us human primates to hold in our consciousness. So what happens moment to moment is that there's an arising happening. We can call the arising an ego or the self, or somebody could call it the self-illusion, whatever. But what happens is that from this choiceless awareness, the first arising is what we can call instinctive needs. So we need to go to the toilet, or we need to turn our heads when a branch crackles or whatever. Just basic human animal needs. Then we have some preferences, also very close to, I guess, most primates. We have preferences. I guess, insects have preferences too. They might go this way, this way. They might be automatic. I don't know. But we still have these preferences, like I might prefer wearing my hair like this, or I might prefer eating almonds. So I'm just eating. I excuse myself. So sorry for eating almonds. Just my preference. Then what happens here is line of suffering. So we cross the line of suffering when we enter the world of desires. So this is a concept that's familiar from Buddhism, but I try to avoid all isms and just describe the phenomenology of our everyday common experience. So when we have desires, the desires we might fulfill those desires or not. And what happens when we can't fulfill our desires, we usually experience suffering. And that's very common. It's not a problem per se. But when suffering when desires turn into expectations, so we start to expect that things happen a certain way according to our desires, that's when the line of suffering, when it's crossed, the amount of suffering, so to speak, increases. So here we have small print, which I will read it out to you. It says that I'm trying to sound very scientific here. The lens of ontological approval and cooperation, operating on both macro and micro levels of duration, that is on a moment-by-moment basis and as a lifelong process, narrows as suffering and increases. So what I'm trying to convey here is that the lens of ontological approval and cooperation, which is just a fancy way to say, how are we approving what is, okay? And cooperating with what is. So let's say I'm walking outside and it starts to rain. I can open up my umbrella, and then I'm in a way cooperating with what is. I'm approving, okay, it's raining, so I'll put out an umbrella. The lens of ontological approval and cooperation narrows as suffering increases. So what tends to happen when things don't go our way here, desires and expectations, is that we say no to what is more and more. So that's what I'm trying to say here, that the lens of ontological approval and cooperation narrows as suffering increases. So basically, when we ascend the line of suffering, our lens of ontological approval, which here in choiceless awareness is, it doesn't have limits. It narrows, and as it narrows, suffering increases. And the higher we go on this line of suffering, line of disintegration, the less and less we have in our comfort zone, so to speak. Our comfort zone is very, very narrow, very, very tight, and we feel like the world is against us, which it is, because there's the world as it is, and then there's the sense of me, the sense of self here, which has these preferences and what have we. Preferences turn into desires, expectations, then to demands for reality. And that's a problem. And when demands turn into ultimatums, that's where we're in a real, Donald Trump territory. There's a bunch of other stuff here. I won't go too deeply. This is just a kind of like a introduction to the chart, but you can see the basic idea that choices awareness is our experience right now. Right now, as you're listening to this, watching this, that's your and my experience right now. But as we have what is called a character, the self, an ego, we can't avoid this arising, but we can learn to approach this arising, which is inevitable as long as we have brains. We're human primates. We can learn to approach this arising in a very different way. In a word, in an almond shell, I guess almonds don't have shells, but in a nutshell, the different approach is that we can learn to not take it very seriously because it's just an arising, like the need to go to the toilet or whatever. It's an arising, but because we are what Gurdjieff used to call three-brained beings, we are human primates. We have a frontal lobe, a cortex, so we have this arising of a sense of self and a sense of character arising. I guess it's different. We have a dog, a taller, his name is Hugo. And I guess, our dog Hugo, he doesn't have this arising. He doesn't feel like he's this unique person, but we do. So, or unique self. So basically, this is how it goes. And here's a grace entry point. So by the grace of whatever, by pure luck, we might start descending this graph. It might happen suddenly. So let's say we have what is commonly titled a spiritual experience or a mystical experience. We might just fall from our expectations and demands and ultimatums right here to choiceless awareness. But that's an experience, and all experiences happen somewhere, and all those experiences happen here in choiceless awareness, in consciousness, in awakeness, whatever. They happen somewhere, so we always rise back somewhere to this graph. So we can have the sudden experience, or then we can learn through practices or whatever amount of inner work we can start and descend back to this natural experience, which is already here. So basically, it's not. I wouldn't call it a highfalutin spiritual theory, but it's just noticing. I guess Plato or Plotinus or somebody from those ancient times used to call it remembering or something like that. We remember our essential nature, or I would say we just notice it because it's already here. It's the ground that's producing these sounds, these words that are appearing here, and it's the same empty ground for you and me. And in that ground, of course, the you and me that appear in this same ground. They appear in the same ground. So, yeah, I guess that's all I want to conceptualize about it. You just notice it. It's very, very, it's not difficult because everything that you already notice is appearing in that. So basically, I have a saying that what's my saying? Everything that you notice what you're noticing before you're noticing anything else. I guess that's the saying. I have to translate it from my native language, Finnish, to English. So notice what you're noticing before you're noticing anything else, because anything else that you're noticing, it's appearing it's appearing somewhere in something. And this something, which I guess the Zen guys and gals call it the no thing, is who we really are. Somebody might say that. I'm not sure. Not sure about anything, but this I'm sure of. Oh, sorry, my phone is ringing. Just a second. All right, the phone call is done. And now I'm supposed to remember where I was, which proves to be probably impossible, but let's try. So let's get back to the picture. It's here, and I guess the main thing here is to see as the line of suffering arises, which is also a line of experience and a line of creativity. Also, it's not all bad, but depending on where we are on this line, then it gets bad in the sense that it produces suffering. And something that happens here is that the central character here is the sense of self. So it starts by we have thoughts appearing, which form into clusters called concepts, which start to form into beliefs, which are believed concepts. And then these beliefs form a story which revolves around a central character. So this is quite important. We have, and also here in the small print, it says personality type formation, focus of energy and attention as coping with needs not being met. Not sure what I meant by that. But basically, the thing is that this line of suffering is impossible without the central character. So you can also picture this as a circus tent of sorts, the circus of life, which is poised on the central pole. Here is the sense of self, the sense of the individual me, personality, so to speak. Take this off, and this falls away. Here's a little another graph I just wrote up for a client a few days ago, which is this. This is life. So basically, we have happy things and sad things. This is, it's just life. When we make this, when we hang this, the basic fundamental nature of life, where we have happy things and sad things, when we put a central character here, then these happy things and sad things become objects of desire. We either want the happy things and we desire the bad things to go away. And that's when these things, basically positive and negative things, become sources of suffering on their own, seen, from in a flat surface of choiceless awareness. They just are what they are. And I guess that could be called freedom. I guess that's all I have to say for the time being. You can download the chart for your viewing below, and hope it makes sense. If you need any assistance, just send me a note. You can find my contact details there as well. All right, bye.